we have some great agents on here, and I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves. I'm going to have the partners introduce themselves, and then we're going to start jamming together. So Realtors, why don't you kick it off? Chris, go ahead.
Sounds good. Thanks, Andy. Hi, guys. My name's Chris Fixler. I am with Jameson Sotheby's, and this is my 7th year in real estate.
Thanks, Chris. I'm Lauren Mitrick Wood. Nice to see all of you today. And this is my 18th year in the business. Crazy to say. Started when I was very young. I'm with Compass and run a team called Olive Well, where all live well. Thanks for having me. Who's next?
Oh, no, nobody remembered. Nobody remembered the order. This is live.
Just in case, I'll go next. Danny Lewis. Dreamtown Realty, and I've been in real estate for about 10 years.
Hi, my name's Curtis Crotty. I am with App Properties, and I am the newbie in the group, going on my 3rd year in real estate.
I guess I'll go next. I'm Scott Curcio from Burton, entering year 16, and I run a team of 7, and we're excited to be here today.
Scott, we appreciate Realtors. We know you're busy. We appreciate you carving the hour out just to collaborate and connect with one another. I know agents, they love the publication. They love our product. They love the events, both virtual and in person. But I'll tell you right now, I cannot do what I do without our partners. People know I keep it pretty loose. I'm pretty sarcastic. I have a very dry sense of humor. Sarcasm is the 6th love language, which that is my love language. People know they can joke around with me, but I'll tell you right now, this is the 1% that I am dead serious. I cannot do what I do without our partners. These are people essentially who took a leap of faith on me to keep creating something that gets like-minded people in the real estate industry to interact and essentially to elevate each other. I mean, it's in our masthead: connecting, elevating, and inspiring, and that is extremely intentional. So I just want to say, Eric, Patrick, Cheri, I can't do what I do without you. We appreciate your support. Thanks for your loyalty and getting us through 2020. I obviously do what I can on my shoes to keep people interacting and connected, but I mean, it's the people who, I get a lot of love just from the Realtors, but I'm telling you right now, it is the people like Patrick, Eric, and Cheri that make it happen. So I'm gonna give them a few seconds to introduce themselves, and then I'm going to shut up and we're going to start jamming. So Cheri, take it away.
Sure. And I have to say, Andy, when we first met, I was very suspicious, but it's hard. It's hard not to get involved in your positivity. And I think it's awesome what you have created. And I'm Cheri Kasella. I'm with Haven Home Staging. We're thrilled to have been a partner with you for several years now. And this is, I think, my 3rd jam session. So I'm excited to be invited back. And Haven is a home staging company, and we have been in business. We'll be starting our 12th year here in a few months.
Who's next? Should I go next?
It doesn't matter. It's a jam session, it doesn't matter.
Andy, to be honest, yeah, it's great being a partner with real producers, but let's be honest, I am mainly here for the Cutco knives I get every December. Those things are really sharp, and I like it, so thank you. I use it to cut my limes every morning when I make my fizzy water. That's the thing that wakes me up every day. So, big shout out to you for that. I am a real estate lawyer. I handle primarily real estate transactions. I've been handling real estate transactions since 2003. I don't want to have to count how many years that is because it's too many already. And that's about all I have to say.
Love it, man. Thanks.
My name's Eric Ozarowski. I run Kevin Smith State Farm Agency in Logan Square. Our office has been in business for about 12 years, and I've been there for 5. Andy, obviously, thanks for everything you do. I'm excited to be on this call.
Well, I appreciate it. So I'm going to get out of the way. One thing I will add is I think Cheri's our most tenured. I think you were in the very first or second issue, and it was I know confidently it was before we had our first events. and the one we did at the wine club Cheri's like, yeah, I think this is good. I mean, this goes to my target market. I always want to be around realtors. Sure, let's do this. And then it has really become a great thing. And Eric, I'll tell you right now too, dude, you've got the sickest location right next to Revolution Brewery. So I live in Logan as well. And Patrick, you gave me a shout out for giving me a Cutco. So that's what's cool about you, my friend. So I'm going to get out of the way and just let people start jamming. And I think, Lauren, when we were pre-gaming, you had a great topic that I think everybody would get a lot of value out of. So yeah, just take it away, and I'll give you guys the floor, and just, feel free to ask it for the group. And I'm excited what's gonna come out of the next 45 minutes or so.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, I wanted to kick things off talking about the private network, both PLN and TAN, and just kind of how we're navigating that. I know it's a big buzzword over the last couple of years, and it just seems I'm having trouble keeping up with that inventory, not only sending it to my clients, but being on top of that. I recently just learned, I feel like a noob, but that you can email yourself the private listings to get alerts when they come through. And someone on my team called MRED yesterday, and they said that they are working on a way that they can get that sent to our clients, which is a big game changer, I think. But just wanted to kind of kick off that topic and just kind of see what we're all navigating with that private network. It seems like, especially in the suburbs, things are selling on the private network within hours of going on the private network. So it's just been extremely difficult to get traction, especially with buyers. So anyway, that's the topic I wanted to kick around this morning.
Lauren, can you just talk a little bit more about what exactly that is and how it's different for someone like me that's not in the real estate world?
Sure. Yeah, it's just well, there's the Top Agent Network, which is an email forum that it's a pay to play. So it's a forum where all the realtors can communicate from all different companies, and you can say, hey, this is coming soon, or in search of. And then within the multiple listing service, they created this new system called the PLN, which is the private listing network. And it's basically not shown to consumers syndicated through Redfin, Zillow, Trulia. Although I am kind of confused on sometimes Redfin does have coming soon. I know Compass has coming soon. But I actually just got an email yesterday from a site. I can pull it up in a second. I forgot what it was called. But it seems like a place where all the coming soons get posted. And I'm like, what is this? How is this how is this working? So it's just a place where sellers can put their homes on the market if they're not 100% ready to go, or maybe they're more private and don't want their home publicly displayed. And from my experience, the sellers have the upper hand there because there's not much room for negotiating. If they're on the private network, they can just say, we won't really negotiate, we'll just go live instead of negotiate with you. So they be in the driver's seat when they're on the private network, especially negotiating once they're under contract. But it's just hard to keep track. I've found myself creating Excel sheets on what the hell I already sent to my client, because if you look in a certain price range in a certain area, there could be 40 different listings, and you're like, did I send that to them? When did that one go on? There's no date on when it went on the private network. Is it old? Is it brand new? Did it hit the market an hour ago? So many questions. It's just been tricky for me to navigate in an intense seller's market.
Yeah, so one thing that I'm using and I've started using recently is something called Zenlist, and that might be the email you got.
That is, yep.
Yeah, Zenlist is very similar to Compass Coming Soon, but it does pull all brokerages PLN information. And it's a pretty user-friendly app that you can get clients signed up on too. And depending on how much you want to get notified, I get pings now daily, hourly about things popping up on the PLN. So it helps me keep track of things that are hitting brand new. And it also keeps track of what your clients have seen and what you've sent your clients.
So your clients can have access to that portal.
Yeah. It's by far the best thing that I've seen in a PLN from a customer facing standpoint. It's just convincing your clients to get on that versus Zillow, which is the same as getting them convinced to use Compass versus Zillow, for example.
I think
so. Eric, to answer your question, pocket listing is something that's huge for us realtors. It's a way for us to market properties off market. So we don't accrue days on market. It's a way for us to test out our pricing. It's a way for us to leverage our networks to basically use our connections with other realtors to get these listings out. MRED, the multiple listing service company, must have seen that other companies were doing this, like Top Agent Network, Coming Soon, all that kind of stuff too. And they put together just basically a half-assed version of the private network. What I mean by half-assed is, and Lauren, I don't know if this is something you want to talk about, but it's almost impossible to do searches on it. We can't send our clients the listings that we see on it. We basically have to screenshot the listings and send them picture by picture. So, I mean, I'm personally, I don't even know why they did this in the first place. If anything, maybe to appease some realtors who are just complaining.
I'll tell you exactly why they did it.
Pocket listings. But yes, Scott, please take it away.
So if you guys follow any of the national debate, essentially pocket listings were outlawed.
That's what I was wondering too. I thought they weren't allowed anymore.
No. So, but if you dig a little deeper, MRED was a key architect of that pocket listing ban. And I remember at first going, well, wait a minute, they just came out with the PLN, but here's the loophole. We're able to still put stuff into the private network because technically it is in the MLS. So that's why we're able to still have it. I agree. I struggle with the PLN it's clunky. It's clunky. And I always have to laugh every time we put something in and it says, can it be shared with clients? I'm like, well, I can't actually share it with clients. So I don't know why I'm checking this box. It doesn't. Thanks for that. I'm glad to hear, Lauren, that you mentioned that one of your team members, that they said that they're trying to work on functionality that it can send it out. Because I'm actually curious, like, how can Zenlist pull that information there and pull it to a client, but we can't actually send? And it's a pain in the ass. You either have to, if an agent has posted like a link to like a Matterport or a virtual tour, it's easy to send that. I just send that, copying and pasting the description and forward it on. But like we always put, we do a lot of pre-marketing. We sold a number of properties last year off market this way, but we've got a system for it where it goes in PLN, then it goes in TAN, then it goes in Zillow, Coming Soon, all at this, roughly all at the same time, so that so it's kind of everywhere. But what sucks is I can't put a link to my Zillow Coming Soon listing in the PLN because it's branded. So it's like, that's the most easily shared link that I can provide to anyone, but I can't put it in PLN because it's branded. So that's the tough part. And I think those are some of the kinks that they necessarily didn't think through. But I heard a couple of people mentioning the trick I found is that PLN, when you pull up a search, it displays everything in the order that it was added to the PLN. So always know that whatever is appearing at the top of your screen, your first one, those are the newest. So it is kind of a pain, like, how do you track? I always just copy myself on the email I send the client and just put it into a folder for them so that I can reference back. But usually I'll see it and be like, wait, I sent that to them already. But if you know that, like, it all populates, because I agree, it doesn't put a date that it was put in there. So you're like, well, when did this come up? So I know that they're aware of a lot of the issues that it has, but that's how we're able to do it. Because like, if you go on the West Coast, they can't, there's the pocket listing ban from NAR is still in play, but it doesn't count for us here.
Thank you. Just a like PSA to any realtors, if you are putting your listings in PLN, please put under contract in there if it's under contract.
Right.
I keep sending so many listings to people and then I'm like, I want to see that. And then you reach out and they're like, sorry, it's sold. You're like, ugh. So that would be great if you could just put the
and I don't understand why MRED hasn't made that like a rule. Like, don't we need to like update our listings within like 48 hours? So that's been frustrating. I agree with you as well.
And if you can put the non-branded link to photos, it eliminates one other email to say, hey, can I get a link to your photos? Like,
exactly. Yeah, you don't, that's the thing about the PLN is that you don't have to put in all the information. So even if you'll be looking at a price and it'll be like $1, you're like, what does this mean? Is this just you putting it on the PLN just to show us it's available, but you haven't come up with the price yet? It's a little frustrating, I agree.
For sure. And even put photos. I mean, that'd be great. I've seen a lot of listings on there that don't even have photos because they don't really require it. So
yeah, it is nice that TAN was able to update some of their functionality with the feature of like, if I add something in, it alerts me that, Scott has a buyer that could be paired up so I can reach directly out to Scott as opposed to like sifting through. That has been nice, but I agree there definitely needs to be like some like uniformity with all of these private networks, because it is challenging. It's it's a lot of work for us to kind of sift through all of this. But I'm going to check out Zenlist. Yeah, I've been receiving a lot of emails and I really haven't checked that out, but that's good to know that you're using that, Curtis.
But again, it's like one more thing to keep track of, figure
Right.
out what would pay for.
Yeah.
It's just like, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
So you guys might have answered this, but so some people have photos, some people don't have photos. Obviously we're wanting to make sure people are preparing their houses for sale at the right time. So trying to understand, especially if this is becoming really prevalent, like, do we have to get ahead of them even further now? If they're doing this, or if you're just finding people are throwing stuff on just to see if anybody will bite?
I think people are throwing things on the PLN before the home is staged, or if they're doing any work to the home before photos have been taken. It's at least getting an opportunity to let people know, hey, there's a house here coming on the market, and there might be a front photo of the outside of the house. I have had clients put things on the PLN just to really get a rush on it, and then a week later upload photos. So that's why I'm seeing people not having photos. It's usually renovation work is happening, staging still hasn't happened yet, or it's just too quick of a timeline to get photos taken, returned, and uploaded.
Yeah, like Curtis said, I mean, I feel like a lot of people just kind of rush to put themselves on the private listing network without even thinking about how the listing looks, how the marketing is going to be, et cetera. They just want to get it out there.
Right.
So that's why you see a lot of, cell phone pictures. You see a lot of old pictures, just a lot of listings that just look horrible.
It sounds like outlawing pocket listings has really just created a monster rather than solve the problem.
Just time consuming for us as agents to like keep track of things, but it can be great for securing our worth to people, and saying I need a broker to figure out what's this inventory that I can't see. So I think that has been helpful.
Absolutely.
Value.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a way for us to, like I said before, leverage our relationships. I mean, if we've been around for a while, I've done deals with Lauren before, Scott. We could use those relationships that we had before to not only let our sellers and buyers know, hey, we have access to off-market listings, we can sell your property before it hits the market, but also ways to kind of grow our relationships in terms of realtors as well. So we need to leverage these sites and make them, as functional as possible for us to succeed. But yeah, I feel like the MRED just kind of rushed to it, did a half-assed version of it, and I feel like it's a pain in the ass to use.
Curtis,
By the way,
about inventory. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Chris Fixler, I love your spectator in the back. It's really adorable.
Oh yeah, my sleeping dog. He will claw at my door if I don't let him in. He's like he's crazy.
Very cute.
But, yeah, he's just snoozing away.
So cute. Curtis, you want to kick over to inventory?
Yeah. So I think everybody in our market has kind of been keeping a very close eye on where inventory is going. I've got a lot of buyers who don't want to touch the stale inventory that's been out there. And they're just waiting for new things to hit. They're ready to move, but they are not in a rush and they want to wait. So what are you guys telling sellers? What are you guys seeing from sellers? Is there an inventory pickup coming?
Super Bowl weekend. What does that mean?
I feel like last February was like, oh, sorry, Chris, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was saying, does that mean anything anymore? Like, I feel like January 2nd, things are like popping off already. But I'm curious to know if there's going to be more coming as well. I feel like we're in desperate need of it, but yeah, I have a follow-up question to after this. So
I haven't seen the last couple of years February I don't feel like Super Bowl is this kickoff like it used to be. Our patterns have shifted, like look at our falls. November, December is such a busy time now, whereas 5-6 years ago it wasn't. Mm-hmm. And now we had our best November ever. We entered the year with 2.5 times as many pending deals as we had ever had before. And so I think, and January continues to be, from my standpoint, very, very busy, and February too, but it's it's inventory. March, from what I've seen the last couple of years, we should see an uptick in inventory in March. I mean, I even see it in my own clients. Like January was when the end of January, they all came out of the woodwork. Now, beginning of February, they're like, I need to get my house ready. And it'll be like end of February, beginning of March, where people are like, oh, it's February, shit. I better start like getting my stuff together, you know. But I've been, because we've been going on a lot of listing appointments, been really paying attention to our month supply of inventory. And in most neighborhoods, most cases, it's really favoring the sellers right now. I mean, I've got 14 active buyers that I can barely find anything for right now. So like this week, actually, and you'll probably all be getting this email, is literally we've just been working on a full list of extreme detail for every one of our buyers, putting everything from myself and then also my team's buyers in writing for, like, you know, the top 100 brokers that sold property in Chicago last year, and just saying, here's what we have, because we know that we're all having conversations right now, in some cases with sellers that haven't signed yet, right? So we don't have it in the PLN. We don't have anything out there. And it's like, you know, you're talking to Bob, you know, seller Bob or seller Jane. It's like, okay, who's your Bob or who's your Jane? Like, who's got somebody that might have what we're looking for, and saying, hey, I might have something, let me call my seller right now, that could then prompt somebody to get a listing agreement signed. Because it's like, find the inventory. It's playing literally, like, I feel like we're all doing it. We talked about with the PLN, like, pick up the stones, like, what's here, you know, and what can you find? And I think it's going to be like that at least the first half of the year. I don't think there's we don't have enough to go around with buyer demand right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like inventory is going to be crazy this year for two reasons. Number one, we didn't have a March last year. You know, we didn't have an April last year. March 17th, everything shut down. April, everything was closed. You know, people were afraid to walk outside their doors, etc. And the second main reason is because it's kind of weird to say this, but people are kind of comfortable now with the COVID lifestyle. You know, in March and April, walk around in masks was all brand new. No one was doing open houses. It was impossible to show buildings because buildings didn't even want people to come in the doors. At this point, now we're at a point where people are more comfortable with the fact that we have to wear masks, and they're okay with the fact that we have to socially distance. I had an open house last weekend where there was a line out the door, and that sounds impressive, sure, but the reason why is because we had to space everyone 6 feet apart from each other. And everyone was cool with it. Everyone was talking to each other and was helping each other out, letting each other in the doors, wearing gloves, masks, etc. So, you know, this year, the hangover from COVID, it's still there, but at the same time, people feel more comfortable with it. They're okay going outside now, and rates are still crazy low. So there's a lot of reasons for sellers and buyers to like to be excited this year.
What about the downtown high-rise market, though? Are you guys seeing that rebound at all, or is it just still stuck?
Stuck.
Yeah.
It's been a bit for a while. I don't know if anybody went to the market outlook, but rental prices especially just tanked last year. And if you read the reports, I mean, we're seeing rental prices, you know, back to where they were 10 years ago. You know, homes losing. I've got a client of my own where, like, you know, looking at $500, $600 less per month on rent because our equilibrium's off. All the student population hasn't come back. So we're missing a key segment of the market. So I think it's probably another year or two before the rental equilibrium, you know, kind of evens out. And that also then translates, I think, to the sales world too. You know, like we're definitely seeing stuff selling in some of the high rises, East Lakeview especially too. I don't know if anybody's found that. We've had a real struggle with East Lakeview high rises over this last year period. And I think a large part of that is like everything's shut down in a lot of them, right? The gyms sometimes are open. We have some buildings where they're not. You know, we have some buildings where we have to actually approve every showing with the property manager before we can even set foot in the building. So it's a doozy.
Yeah, I've probably got about 10 clients I'm just waiting on a contract to come in because I know that they're selling a place in a high rise or anywhere near the core of the city. And, you know, I just know I got to be patient because it's going to be a while before they are under contract.
I think if you're as a seller, you can definitely sell, and you know, buyers can get a pretty good deal. There's just gobs of inventory in the downtown core market. I'm looking at absorption rates through MRED. There's a market conditions addendum report, super easy to pull, and you can like right now in the 8008 region downtown, which is like the River North, Gold Coast, Streeterville, there's like 40 to 55 months of inventory for, 1.5 to 2.5 million. So that's
Wow.
outrageous when a normal market should be 4 to 6 months of inventory. So you're seeing some definitely deals to be had.
Yeah, it is crazy. I have a listing in the Legacy, and I mean, all last year, I mean, it was terrible. I couldn't get people through it. It was also, the building was boarded up because of the protests and everything. So that was really challenging. But I'll tell you what, January 1st, the showings started pouring in, which I think that to me, that made me happy. I definitely saw like an uptick. I was there like 2 Saturdays ago and the lobby was full of brokers. That made me feel good. You know what I mean? And also, I mean, I got under contract, thank God. I mean, knock on wood. But yeah, I mean, it's challenging. The South Loop market had, Lauren, like you said, like 2 years supply of inventory. It's crazy. So there certainly are some deals to be had down there. That's for sure.
What are you guys doing with your sellers in those high rises? Are you keeping them on? Are you putting them in temp status, pulling back to the PLN, or?
I kept mine on.
Yeah, I think it depends on the building. Some buildings won't even let people in the door and some are okay with it. It just depends on the building that they're in.
Yeah.
I kind of have a follow-up question to like everything that we're talking about. So what do you guys think with like interest rates remaining really low, property taxes probably, increasing again, and like the decline in the rental market? What do you think the next 12 to 24 months might look like just based on all of these like kind of crazy factors?
Well, I would say, and Lauren, I'm sure you can say the same thing. We talked to our lender, Joel Schaub, a guaranteed rate. He'll tell you that interest rates are going to stay like this for a pretty long time, from what I hear. I think that will consistently bring out a lot more buyers for sure. But at the same time, I mean, 2.875%, 2.75% is a joke. I mean, our parents were paying 13, 14% on their mortgages. So I think that the buyers are still going to be consistently coming out. The big difference between this crisis and say like the 2008 crisis is that was a financial crisis. This is a health crisis. Money is still flowing. Lenders are still giving out money to qualified buyers. So it'll be a lot different from what we've seen before, but at the same time, I think the consistency of buyers are going to stay there.
Do you think that there's like a price correction like looming? I mean, prices are inflated right now. Do you think that there's maybe a price correction looming in the next 24 months just with rents being so low? I mean, I have clients asking me like, can I'm thinking about selling my house and like renting in the year for a city while I try to figure out if I want to keep my kids in CPS or, go to the North Shore, what do I do? I'm getting those questions. They're kind of challenging for me to answer, honestly.
I think it's hard for us to look 24 months in. I mean, that's a doozy, right? Like if we were having this conversation a year ago, right? Like none of us would have said where we're at right now. But I agree. I mean, I think everything that I'm seeing from my lenders too, is rates are going to stay where they are pretty consistent, right? Like too many other things in the economy are precarious right now where they're not going to screw with that. I think that's going to stay. So that's a motivating factor for a lot of people right now. We had our best year ever last year, and I think 2021 will continue with that. There's a lot of market share to be had. There's a lot of, I think from this group, there's a lot of newer brokers. I mean, people that got in just last year, and they're struggling because they don't have the experience, the resources, and the knowledge that all of us are bringing to the table. And I think that's a real key leverage point. I heard some people, Danny mentioned it before, like talking about privately marketing, your properties if you're working with a seller, or how are we going to find you that off market if we're a buyer's agent. And I think those things are going to continue, but there's definitely opportunity. I mean, Lauren just mentioned it, like a 40-month, month supply of inventory for high-end properties. Like, well, that's a great opportunity, and if you're going to buy a $2, $3, $4 million condo and you could get it for, let's say 10% off right now at the current rates, holy God, think about what that savings. So I think that's something that I'm talking with clients, but the other side is, I don't know where we're going to be 24 months from now, right? Like a war could break out and that could completely screw everything else, or, I know, we don't need that. I'm not saying
Don't need that.
You better be careful.
Definitely don't need that.
like we've been through our own little version of a war, right? Like we're still in it. But, you know, I think we can look for, I always tell clients right now, I can speak to today and I can speak to what I think we're going to see the next 2 to 3 months. But past that, it's hard to predict, right? Because right now, everybody, you know, there was, I think, all this bad national media last year. Oh, Chicago's over. I'm like, well, it's not. Look at our numbers, you know, like for the most part, our average sales prices.
Yeah, it's still one of the most affordable cities in the country to buy. So.
Well, and we had our highest number of million plus single family homes in terms of quantity to sell ever last year. You know, like total luxury sales were down, but the general Chicagoland area was up 15%. Like, so the prices are rising, right? It's simple supply demand right now, you know. So is there, you know, a bubble looming? I mean, if COVID didn't pop a bubble, what I think it has to be more of a financial issue that would spring up. And I think we have a lot of those fail safes in the system after the 28 crash that, you know, hopefully prevent a lot of that from happening. It doesn't mean people are going to be over leveraged. I was listening to something the other day too, where the report was that 34%, if I remember correctly, 34% of homeowners in America they own their homes outright. And that blew my mind. Mm-hmm. That many people did not have a mortgage. So we're sitting, I think, on a very good equity position for most homeowners where people they're not leveraged as much as they could be, probably in part because a lot of people refinance this year. So I think generally people have been smart with their money.
Well, I feel like also it's another factor to consider is that in 4 months' time, when they release the vaccine to the general public, that's really, I think, going to change how people are thinking about the future. Because right now we still have this sort of hazy version of what the next 6 months is going to look like. But once more people have shots in their arms, people are going to become less afraid. And, you know, why wouldn't that contribute to, I think, a better housing market, especially in high rises?
Patrick, I have a question for you. Since you're on the law side, you see a lot of different deals all day, I'm sure. Are you seeing any general trends versus like buyers versus sellers? Like, are buyers being more scrupulous and asking for a lot more in their interview?
Gosh, you know, one thing that was kind of percolating in my mind as you guys were all chatting away about, you know, the lack of inventory is the number of deals that I feel like have been falling apart. Despite the fact that it is really a seller tilted market, I feel like buyers are still, you know, as skittish as ever, you know, when they get that inspection report and it shows, you know, this, that, and the other thing. I feel like that they're more likely to pull the ripcord and get out. And the reason that kind of came to mind is, you know, you guys were saying that buyers just don't want to touch the stuff that's been stale on the market. They're waiting for new, better stuff. And I wonder if it's just because kind of the stuff that's left isn't that great. I don't know.
Actually, can I just jump in one more time? I actually wanted to kind of like disagree with Curtis on having your buyers, or maybe just encourage them to go look at some of those things. But some of the stale inventory is actually really, really good. And it could have been that they just missed the market, or like I have a listing that we went on in August of last year. We just totally missed the market. We may have shot it a little too high because the market was cruising and cranking then. And my clients bought it a couple years ago for like $885, let's say. And then we just got it under contract after we staged with Cheri at Haven. We just refocused, reshifted, you know, did some changes to the lighting, whatever. And after several price drops, finally got it under contract. And it's like, this home is a great place that sold within a week in 2017. But, you know, for one reason or the next, it just kind of dropped out last year. So I think if there is stale inventory, it might not be that it's a bad product. It might have just been, it hit the market right after the riots or, you know, right after the pandemic. Like another example is we had a home that was under contract and the buyer lost their job back in 2020 and we rented it. So now it's back on, and it, you know, that's another example of a great piece of inventory that's just kind of been sitting a little bit because there was some shakeout during the pandemic. So I would encourage anyone listening to, you know, encourage your buyers to go look at some of that inventory and get a great deal on a great home that just had a little bit of an issue last year.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And just to tack onto that, anecdotally speaking, I mentioned earlier, I've got all these clients trying to sell places close to the city core. And, as time wears on and they realize, okay, I'm not going to get the price that I thought I was going to get, they are sort of getting broken down as far as, all right, I'm going to do a $20,000 price cut because, I've got to move this thing and get somewhere else. And so, yeah, it's not that necessarily all these properties are crap. They just may have had exactly missed the market, didn't realize, what price they needed to be at to move it now.
Right.
I think that's actually really good advice, Lauren, and I agree with that. I think the other thing we have to look at, and this is actually, I think, a little bit when we're looking on for our buyers, is looking at the history of that. Like, I will tell you, from about the third week of August to about the third week of October, I think it was a really bad time to list a property. And we were tracking through the fall every week, like what percentage of our properties were, hi, Tommy Choi, what percentage of our properties were getting traffic each week. So in that September to mid-October period, it was 25%. It was like pulling teeth. The minute we got to the end of October, I think when the weather started to get a little cooler and people were going more back inside, we shot up to 50 to 55%. And so when I look at a house maybe that's still for sale now, let's say it's listed in January and it listed in the end of August, one, I'm asking that, in my head, I'm going, well, why didn't they take it off for the holidays to refresh it? Because it would have changed that perception among buyers. But also, okay, so maybe they had, let's say, 5 months of market time, but really maybe it was more like 2 to 3. And if you consider that, the average market time in the city for properties generally sits around 75 to 90 days, well, that's not necessarily out of line, but you have to look, I think we have to look, the same thing last year, people that listed in March, like March and April, it was almost like you kind of gave up 30, 60 days of market time in a dead zone. So I think we have to be mindful of that to tell the whole story, to encourage buyers to say, no, let's go take a look at this. I'm not sure what's wrong with it. It could be that it's fine and it's just sitting. Because I agree with Lauren. I think there's a lot of what we would say are stale properties that are still potentially good value and just haven't hit their mark yet. So for whatever reason, we've got 2 of them ourselves. I'm like, how have these not sold? They'll get there.
Something else that I think contributes to the idea of a stale listing is, and I want to hear your guys' input about this, it was a really interesting year for the MLS to do this, but last year, the MRED started to include a feature where they included total days of listing time right next to the fact or how many days it's been listed at this new price. So what you'll see on a listing is you'll see 5 days like new, but to the right of that, you'll see like 130 days in terms of like the total listing time. And it was really interesting timing that they did it last year, because last year was the year where, like Curtis said, a lot of listings started to turn stale because people weren't going out, they weren't seeing places. So I feel like the MLS kind of inadvertently added to the idea that there are a ton of stale listings out there by adding that little feature, that little number, which is actually a huge deal, right to the right of the amount of days that it's been listed at a certain price.
Have you noticed though, Danny, or anybody else, like for some properties, it doesn't apply. Like I had a client yesterday send me 2 homes and she's like, these have been on the market for a while. I pull them both up and they had both just listed and they were both showing like 1/1. When I clicked the property history, one of them had literally canceled the day before and relisted. And I was like, wait a minute. Now, how come it's not picking it up on that listing? So I was trying to figure it out. Does anybody know anything about that? It's like, well, why is it?
Maybe it was a different realtor. Was it the same realtor?
No, it was the same realtor. Yeah, same realtor. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I even looked to say, like, did they put the address in differently? I could not figure it out. But it seems like sometimes there's a glitch and it's not picking it up.
Did you check
They must have found a hack.
syndicate or something?
I think it has to do with whether or not when you repost it as new, if you clone an old one or if you re-enter all the data from scratch. I think if you clone the old one, it keeps all of that. But if you start a listing from new,
No, that's ridiculous.
yeah.
I don't know about that. We'll have to call MRED.
And yeah, I was like, I'm so curious.
I think that's what it is. Don't quote me on that, but it seems to work.
Huh.
Eric, what's going on in insurance these days?
Nothing too crazy and new. So we've definitely had a lot of people buying life insurance. So, just the scare of the pandemic is people wanting to protect their assets and everything they've built. So I think you guys touched on people being a little bit smarter with their money. And, that was one thing from last year that was really apparent, 2, 4, 5, 6 times as many as the amount of people calling in a week just to ask like, what is that? What does it look like? How does it protect my house and all that? That's been probably the biggest thing for us as an office, for sure.
Just a raise of hands, does anyone have long-term care insurance here?
I think I do. Yeah, I think I
Eric
do.
and maybe Scott. Eric, do you sell that?
We do.
We have a group chat of my cousins, and one of them is a little bit older than me and her husband's older than her. And she was like, you wouldn't believe how much more expensive it is for my husband to get long-term care insurance. And he's only a few years older than her. And she was like encouraging us as cousins to get it because her mom going through some stuff and they have home care instead of Medicare and all this stuff. But it just kind of like opened my eyes to think like, wow, maybe I should end up getting that too, just because I know it seems like a long way out. And also if your parents don't have it, maybe encourage them to do it as well. Just as like
Well, that was one thing my dad told me when I struck out on my own. He said, look, you got to get disability insurance because God forbid the shit hits the fan, you need to be able to have something. And so I went out and got it. And it's only like $45 a month for me. Well, this was
at the time. Yeah, at the time.
9 years ago, but
well, that's disability, but then there's also long-term care, which when you're like 80 and in the
oh yeah, I don't have that.
Anyway, Eric, maybe you should do like a class for agents on all the insurance that we need and umbrella policies. Does anyone have those? I have one of those. They're super cheap. I have it through Eric actually.
Yep, we have it through you for sure, Lauren.
No, nobody else has umbrella policies.
I don't have enough to take. If someone wanted to sue me and go beyond my limits, good luck. You can have all my student loan debt.
Well, we'll be looking forward to your education session, Eric.
For sure. If anyone has questions, I'm always happy to help. Happy to be here and help out any way I can.
I might be an insurer's best customer.
Yeah, I feel like people don't know enough about insurance and just how important it is in so many different aspects of your life. It goes sort of, you get your homeowner insurance, your auto insurance, and people go, yeah, I'm good. And they don't realize that there's a lot more to it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I tell people a lot is, you really don't understand it until it's too late and you don't have it and you need it, or you watch someone go through it and realize how much it can help you and save you. Those are kind of the two main things. And then there's people that have, been taught by their parents of, here's how this works. But it's definitely one of those, a lot of it's better safe than sorry. And hopefully you don't need it, but when you do, it can be really life-changing, right?
Yeah, just some of the liability we carry when we take people in our cars. And that's why I would encourage you to get an umbrella policy. Anyway, just fun little tidbits.
And if we ever start an a cappella group, we have a bass ready to go. So it kind of sounds like the guy from Boys to Men, the one that does the talking in the middle of the romantic thing. Very nice deep voice, Eric.
Has anyone picked
Thank
up
you.
This last year that you just never thought you would do?
What's that?
Anyone picked up new hobbies that they are really excited about or want to share?
So my girlfriend and I, we started playing disc golf. It was something that I hadn't done since I was like a college age stoner. But it's like, actually, it turns out we really enjoy doing it. So we were in Hawaii last month and we went and found the one disc golf course on Oahu and played it because we're just enjoying it. So it's a nice outdoor, not so much right now, but when the weather gets nice, it's a nice way to spend an afternoon, and you can, disguise your beer in an innocuous can and, just walk around and get some fresh air and throw a Frisbee.
I would say just like cooking a lot more, like not going out, like cooking, like I'm now finding myself like spending money on like truffle salt. My husband's like, why the hell do you need truffle salt? And I'm like, because we don't eat out anymore, so I'm buying truffle salt. So get over it.
For sure.
Salt is outrageously expensive for a spice. That is funny.
You know, I'm like, you know what? I don't go anywhere anymore, so I'm buying truffle salt. Get over it.
Yeah, I just bought a $150 pan because, you know, I can't, God forbid, I still cook in like the 1999 nonstick that I bought at TJ Maxx. So, you know,
Come on,
my
like
cookware
so many
game.
decisions and like bad things. Get a new pan.
I
I got
highly
nothing to spend my money on. I don't go to bars or restaurants anymore.
Right, exactly.
recommend good pans and good knives.
For
Andy,
sure.
you can help out with that.
Andy
Good
can help with the knives.
I mean, like, you don't even want to see my, I literally have stuff at like my fingertips. You guys keep talking. I'm gonna duck away for like 3 minutes.
Guys, I do have to run here. I got another call to jump on, but appreciate the time. I've learned a lot about what's going on. So thank you guys so much. And hopefully if there's anything I can do to support anyone on this call, feel free to reach out. Andy's got my info.
I appreciate you being a part, Eric.
Thank you guys.
And if appreciate you being a part, man. I'll send out everybody. I'm sure everybody knows everybody, but I'll officially send like a formal email, just so everybody has everybody's info in case they want to connect after. Thanks, my man.
Thanks. Take care.
Cheri, are there any design trends in homestaging you're noticing in the last year?
Yeah, we are actually seeing a lot of kind of like 80s coming back, as far as a lot of curved furniture and those colors, you know, the pinks and the blues. We actually just bought a bunch of furniture from the St. Jane Hotel. They were going out of business, and so they have some beautiful things that we were able to get, but a lot of curves. Curves are really back, and we've used some of these pieces already this year and are getting great feedback, as you know, even social media. We've seen some clients posting their stuff, or realtors posting their photos, and people giving us some good feedback there. So yeah, everything used to be so linear, and now it's going to definitely get curvy.
Yeah, everyone's, living at home now. Everyone's, got a lot of crap cluttered up because we're all sitting around in the same place. What advice would you give our sellers to basically make the most out of their place, to make it look as big as possible with all the crap that they probably have inside right now?
To get that crap out. Get a storage facility and get it out as much as possible. I think everyone is, whether they're moving or not, right, are looking at their places and trying to figure out how to make them look bigger. And I think it is really taking a hard look at what you have and just saying, do I need this? Is this important? And trying to get rid of it. We actually, with COVID, we had a process where we'd come into a client's home and a seller's home and talk to them one-on-one. And we're still doing in homes, but we're now doing video consults. So, anyone, even if they're not selling, but they want some help, I think it always just takes that an objective eye. Even in my own home, people are always like, I want to come see your house. I'm like, why? I live here. I don't notice things because I live here. They're personal to me. Even if it's a piece of paper from 3 years ago, it's personal to me, right? So that professional that can be very objective with them and put things into context, I think it makes a big difference. But definitely just the decluttering and letting go of furniture you've had forever. Just because you've had it forever doesn't mean you can't get rid of it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's like, but I've had this and it's gone with me from place to place to place. But sometimes it's that it's a little bit like therapy, right? Talking them through letting go of things. And I think people are seeing that more and more, just the situation we're in, what's important and what's not.
I feel like I did that with my closet this year. I moved and just got rid of stuff that I was holding on to that definitely didn't fit, but it was like from this time that I did that, and it was like, oh, how can I let go of it? But it just, I don't know. Definitely have to have those conversations with your clients too about their furniture and all their crap.
Well, and I also think like looking at your spaces and making sure that you're using them as efficiently as possible, right? Like a person can live in their house for several years and they get into a habit of, this is my dining room or this is my office space. We, like, even in our own home, turned our family room, it had always been a family room and a big family room. And then we just realized we needed a gym. And so we turned it into a gym, but it kind of took a lot of thought to get us there. And I think that is with anybody, again, in their own property, looking at things objectively, but making those changes.
I'm in my closet right now. Is that?
I was wondering that.
I'm in
I was going to ask you about that.
my sound booth, because, you know.
You know, I have a question. I didn't know, you know, we've all been doing, or we kind of got pushed into it, right? Of doing Zooms and virtual and, you know, Instagram lives. Does anybody, you know, I don't know. I am much better in person than on video. My team has admitted I'm, you know, much better in person. Does anybody have any tips or tricks, or has anybody done anything well this year that they want to boast about or promote, like via Zoom or virtually? That it can be small, it could be something big, but for those of us struggling with still this lack of face-to-face.
I actually sold 2 homes last year, sight unseen, for clients who saw it with me via Facebook Live or FaceTime. And I think the key is to just treat it as if it was face-to-face. It is kind of awkward to get used to it, but it's all trial and error. And I think we're all slowly becoming experts in the videography part. But it is interesting to see. I think it's probably going to start to end because we are getting a little bit more comfortable with it. But to me, it's crazy for people to buy a home without seeing it in person. And I had 2 people do it last year.
I recorded a couple of podcasts this last year, and I learned from each one of them. Just, you know, being on camera and being on screen. First was just asking, if you are hosting an event, like, you know, what are the expectations? Walk me through it. Definitely looking at the camera instead of down at the screen is another one. Checking your teeth, make sure there's no food in it. The big one. And then also like setting up your background. I mean, today is not the most glamorous background, but you know, you don't want to have clutter. Everyone looks like they did a really great job. I'm going to give Chris the star for having her dog prop on the back. Although your dog is nowhere in sight, but was the best. Oh, there we go.
There he is.
And just like the making sure the lighting is good, like you're not backlit and that there's not a lot of noise behind you. And hence why I'm in my closet. If I was in another room and it was echoing, it'd be annoying. So and I would encourage you to look back and see your performance, like watch this recording again and see if there's anything you can shift or change. I noticed the first podcast I did, I kept saying like and you know, a lot, and it was pissing me off. So I definitely made a point to not do that the second and third time.
I also think like it's just crazy that we have to have Zoom meetings and we can't see people. And my crutch has always kind of been humor in a sense. So like setting up a Zoom meeting and just like introducing yourself and being authentic and being goofy and being funny. I mean, that's been helpful for me. It kind of like humanizes this like weird thing that we're doing. But yeah, I mean, it's bizarre. Like it's weird that we have to all do this, and it's, you know, we just kind of have to have like a little bit of a sense of humor about it, I think.
For sure. Yeah, and like I said, I think Chris wins the background, but also look at Andy sitting in front of a cold lake right now. So that's pretty impressive that you could do that.
I had to put socks on. I just want to give my full disclaimer, Scott. I did put socks on. A little inside joke from when we were pre-gaming.
You don't wear grandma slippers like this?
Ooh, those are comfy.
Are these sexy?
I think it's a great question. I'm glad you asked that, Cheri. Like, it's a great question. And full disclaimer for me, I'm horrible in person and on camera, but I can make witty, sarcastic remarks. So, you know, that's me. But that's a great question. Danny, continue your thought, man.
I mean, no, you win. But no, to answer that question too, putting a creative background on just kind of break the ice a little bit. I had the Tiger King behind me last year. I thought that was pretty cool at the time. But yeah, I mean, it's always a good way to kind of break the ice. But also, like Lauren said too, like going back, and now Andy's in the bar, going back and listening to your performance, hearing the things that you said, things that you want to change in the future. I think that's a great point as well.
Yeah, the only thing I would contribute to this is get yourself one of those circle ring lights. You can see like how wonderfully lit my face is right now. It makes a difference. I think this one cost me like $20 on Amazon. So, you know, good investment.
Well,
thanks. You know, for me, I think it is just like this comfort level, and to go back and look at some of my past Zooms, I cringe. And I don't do those things. That's why I'm like, when can we get back in person? I'll feel so much better when we're back in person. But
I love the Zoom. I feel like it's so much more productive use of time. Like the fact that I can do consultation, like, you know, listing consultations, even with clients, like where I'll go to their house and I'll tour it for, you know, 15, 30 minutes and then be seated at my desk where it's like everything else is ready to go and we can do everything electronically. I mean, I love it in person, but I really like that. I feel like I'm so much more productive on a Zoom because I don't have to go anywhere. And, you know, you think about every appointment, if it takes you 30 to 45 minutes to get there and then 30 to 45 minutes to get back, you know, especially if it's a situation where someone isn't necessarily ready to sign on the dotted line right there. I've really enjoyed it. So, and I also agree,
100%.
lighting game is very important.
100%, Scott. And I'll tell you, just from my experience, I hope Zoom court never goes away, because eliminating sitting around listening to people, oh my God, you know, now I can attend court in sweatpants. I just put the top part on, and you know, my morning is freed up to not sit at the courthouse listening to people make inane arguments. You know, I still want to go to closings in person, not for sellers, but for buyers. But 100%, I mean, the amount of time that I'm able to spend doing far more productive things, totally into it. And I hope it continues.
In an effort to wrap it up, Andy?
No, yeah. Do you have any final thoughts there, Lauren?
Oh, I was just going to kick it over to you, but yeah, I guess one last thing, in an effort to be authentic and funny, to end Cheri's question too, I would say watch what you wear. I'm a big pit sweater, but you can't see that's happening right now because I'm wearing a dark shirt.
Oh, I've worn the same like undershirt like for all week. You know, I'm guilty of that. I have like 3 or 4 polos I cycle through, but no, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Thanks for jamming with us this morning. You guys know the drill. I'm gonna cut the live feed right now, and everybody say goodbye.
Hi guys.
Thanks for having us, Andy.
Thanks,
Stop
Andy.
live stream. Okay, we're not live anymore, but seriously, everybody, thank you for carving the hour out. I want to be respectful of everybody's time in case they have a hard stop at 10:15. You know the drill. If you're interested in getting on another one of these, I think we are booked out of these until maybe, I think early April. Email me. We'll shuffle the deck, get some different realtors, different partners on, but these are always fun and they're entertaining. And if there's any way that you can leverage our platform to, you know, connect or just, you know, help brand your business better, don't hesitate to reach out. Appreciate everybody.
Thanks for having us, buddy.
Thanks, Andy.
See you guys.
Peace.
Guys.
Adios. I will send everybody's email and all that fun stuff, you know, after.
Bye.